All right, we're gonna work on a 2015 Grom aftermarket clutch install. We already have the oil all drained out, so we just drained it out so that way you don't have to see the process. You already know how to do that. Once you drain the oil, we're gonna get some clean oil, put it in a container so that way we can soak the clutch fiber plates. So we're gonna put some oil in there, and we're gonna get these clutch fiber plates, and then we'll just throw them in the oil. That way they can soak. Should be 5 clutch plates for this. Kind of just let it soak in there. Just enough to cover it. And just tuck that away until it's ready. And then I got a 10 millimeter, a 12, and a 12 wrench, and so far. And then there's this specialty tool I ordered for the oil spinner. I'll link that Amazon. I think it wasn't that much. I think it might have been like 10 bucks or so, but I'll link it. And I got an impact gun and just a regular it's kind of like an impact, but just be careful when you use these. You don't put it in the wrong direction and strip the bolts. But we're gonna take the clutch cable out. Just loosen that off. So we're gonna loosen up the clutch cable so that way we can disconnect that. I'm gonna pull this out, the oil level checker. I'm gonna pull that out just so that way it doesn't get caught on anything. I don't know if it will or not, but just in case, we'll take that out. And yeah, that's and then we're gonna take off all these 8 millimeter bolts that go around the cover, clutch cover, and I always like to stagger it even when I'm taking it off, so that way it kind of equals out the pressure when you're disconnected. So yeah, we're gonna start taking that off. Actually, oops. So loosen this up so that way you can get this cable out. Just there you go. So that cable will just come out right there, and then start taking these bolts out. We should be able to, like I said, make sure you have it in the right direction. You don't want to strip these or break a bolt. And then you might need an extension for a couple of these, kind of behind this spring. I should be able to get back there and get it. I'm hoping. Just be careful, especially if you got powder coated parts, but this ain't. I'm also gonna, in the end of the video, I'm also gonna put the diagram so that way you can pause it and make sure everything's back on the same order. I think on the diagram too, there will be torque specs on there. So I'll put that at the end of the video, and that way you can pause it and make sure everything's kind of back in the way it's supposed to go. Just take your time. It's just, we're trying to do this video fairly fast because most of you motherfuckers don't have an attention span to watch a 2-hour video or whatever long it takes to do a clutch. We got the clutch cover off. We did remove, we removed these 2 bolts here and pulled that out of the way. And that was a 19 millimeter, and I think that was a 14 or 12, do you remember? It was a 12 millimeter for this bottom one. Move that out of the way. And then now we're going to have to remove these 10 millimeter bolts for the oil spinner. And then we're going to have to move the 10 millimeter. There's 2 of them down here to remove this little cover here. And then we'll just go ahead and do that right now. And so I like to use one of these Milwaukee guns, or you can get a Craftsman, or it doesn't matter. But they have these little bits on there, so you can slide it in there. And it's a little 3/8 adapter. They work really well. So a lot of times you don't even have to like put a pair of they have like special holding tools that you can get for the clutch and all that. A lot of times you can get these free with these guns. They usually work really well. So make sure you keep everything organized so that way you know how it goes back together. Try to lay out a rag. I'm going to grab a rag real quick so that way we can keep everything nice and clean and organized. So just keep everything together and organized. It'll make your life a lot easier when you're putting all this stuff back together. Just careful popping everything off. Where there's a gasket under here. I did buy another gasket. You might be able to get away with using an original if it's in good shape, but for as cheap as it is, you might as well just buy the clutch cover gasket. Make sure you grab an oil spinner gasket, unless you have aftermarket stuff in there. And just like I said, just keep everything organized. And then this is where that special tool goes. So there's a special tool on Amazon that I bought. I think it was like $8, $10. But I'll link it, and it locks in there. There's like a little keyway thing in there. I'm hoping this is the right one. Yep, it's the right one, so definitely link it in there. And the only thing is though, it's like this one here is kind of a yeah, just careful taking it off there so you don't strip anything. Hopefully it comes off. I use the impact for this, like I said, and make sure it's in the right direction so you don't break anything. Just make sure there's nothing on, no washers or anything on the backside that's going to fall onto the floor and roll under your table. Just kind of keep everything going in the same direction. So that way it just makes your life easier when you're putting everything back together. So that exposes the clutch. So now you just got to take this little cover off here with 2 bolts. I think that's all it is just 2 bolts on there. We'll pop that little cover off. And go to it came down enough, it should clear that. So just keep your bolts organized, kind of know where it goes. Then now we need to take this lifter plate. We'll take that off. I bought an aftermarket one where you got to utilize your 3, and then it comes with, I think, 2 or 3 more, I think. It comes with 3 more, I believe. So just, because these are stiffer springs that it came with, and a better billet clutch plate, lifter plate, and then, like I said, just keep everything organized. Make sure you keep your springs separated so that way you know the difference, a little difference between the stiffer ones and the OEM ones. You don't want to put your OEM ones back in there if you ordered stiffer springs. So keep them separated. And then this has that little specialty nut. So you flip, I think this one here, you'll flip this around, and then you'll use this, and it goes in these little grooves. So it's a real tight fit. Just kind of make sure it's on there, make sure it's not slipping off, and then we'll be able to zip this off here. Like I said, just be careful doing this. If you can't get it off, you might need the clutch holding tool, or they do have this one. May work, but I probably wouldn't use this one. This is usually for like sport, like the bigger bikes and stuff like that, and Harleys. Probably wouldn't use this. There's better like holding tools where it's like kind of like a belt thing that goes around here and it tightens up, and it's just enough to kind of do the job. You don't want to gouge none of this stuff, because it can really then make your clutch. You'll be chasing your tail trying to figure out what's wrong, and then you put like indents or something into your clutch. And then there's a little washer that goes underneath. all this shit should come out. So take that out, lay that down, and make sure too that there's no grooves in here. Because if there's grooves in there, you might need to replace this. Because a lot of people, they'll overlook this, and that's one of the things you really need to make sure it's not all wavy, because there's fiber plates, and the same thing goes for these. So the fiber plates sit in there, and with all that bang, like there's a little bit of free play. So when it's grabbing the clutch, it's putting, over time, it'll put little notches in there. Same thing with your steel plates. It'll put little notches in there, and if they're too like kind of gouged out, what will happen is the plates won't separate, and then then you'll be wondering why you can't shift in the gear, or it's like constantly grabbing or sometimes it won't grab, and because it's not allowing the separation, like the ride, it should ride in there nice and smooth. And if there's like, it's all wavy, it'll kind of get hung up on there. So you always look and make sure there's no grooves in there, and make sure there's no washers falling out on the floor, obviously. But luckily we have a diagram, we can see how it all goes back together, which we'll provide at the end. And yeah, so just double check that kind of stuff, and make sure, you don't want to have to do this twice. It's kind of annoying having to take it all back apart, and or trying to just refigure things out. So just obviously these are going to get thrown out. So pull all that out. Like I said, check this basket here. Looks good. If there's grooves in there, replace the basket. I mean, you don't want to have to sit there and keep redoing this, or trying to fit, wondering why it's not disengaging or engaging the clutch, and it's just, you'll be sitting there, you'll have a headache trying to figure this out. So just make sure everything's good, and make sure that the steel plate, I believe, just make sure you have this in order. Like I said, I'm going to go grab a service manual. I forgot to bring it down. So we're going to pause this and just double check the service manual and make sure we have this in the right order. And one thing too to look out for is whenever you put these steel plates back in there, there's a beveled edge. You'll feel it whenever you run your finger across it. There's a beveled edge, and then there's a sharp edge. It really doesn't matter, I don't believe, which way it goes, but if you pick the sharp edge down, make sure that's like all the sharp edges are down as you're stacking the steel plates. So don't sit there and put a sharp edge down and then flip it and have a beveled edge and all that. I think that's where it matters. I think it's like, you always want everything to kind of be uniform, and I don't think it matters which direction, as long as they're all the same direction. But yeah, just kind of pay attention to that stuff. I like to have just whatever direction, just have them all consistent. But we're gonna pause this, and I'm gonna get a service manual just to double check that that this was actually installed properly. I mean, it might have been replaced before I bought it, and they might not put it in there correctly. So always double check your service manual if you have one, and yeah, just always double check. You just never know. Even sometimes mechanics and stuff, they mess up, and in a hurry doing things, and it could be wrong. So we're gonna pause this. All right, so we got everything ready. So we gotta install the clutch plates. So the fiber plates, I'm going to use this side first, I think, and I'm going to just kind of install everything. Take the fire plate will go on first, then a steel plate. Like I said, make sure it doesn't matter, just make sure they're all in the same direction, a beveled or the sharp edge. I'm gonna just do sharp edge down, and then you just alternate. So we're gonna do that. And then sharp edge down is what I'm doing. So you start off with the fiber plate and you'll end with the fiber plate. And this is for a 2014 to 2015 Honda Grom. I think they're pretty much the same up to probably till 2000, I think 21. But this is specifically for a 2015 is what I'm doing this on. But like I said, I do believe they're fairly the same, at least up to probably 2017 is probably the same, but just double check. As long as you're kind of using a service manual and you can have this video to kind of at least help kind of guide you, you should be okay. And then we got to put this plate on. The pressure plate, this is an aftermarket one. So this will go on, and don't forget there's a washer. Make sure you don't lose that washer. It fell out, it stuck to it with the oil and it stuck to it. Make sure you pay attention and put that washer on. Don't lose that washer because that could mess everything up. So you put this on, and then you'll want to kind of line these fiber plates up. You'll just make it go a lot easier because it's got to go in these little notches here. So just make sure, kind of guide that on. Just wiggle back and forth until you get it on there. Let's get caught on there. Just make sure you got that out of the way. Just work it back and forth. Make sure they go into those grooves. Should all click into place. Make sure it's nice and flush all the way around. Kind of spins freely. Make sure this ain't getting hung up. And then next will be should be the springs. Should be the springs and the lifter plate. So I got the heavy duty springs over here, so I'll grab those with the lifter plate. Actually, oh, sorry about that. I think we got to make sure you bolt this back on. So that, I believe, I think we need to put that washer and nut back on before we put, because the lifter plate will cover that up. Because we're gonna have to so there's bearing. I thought it was pressed in there, but I guess they just seat in there. So should push in there. So actually it's just a nice fit. And then just make sure that bearing goes, if you have an aftermarket one, make sure that bearing goes back into the lifter plate. And then make sure there's a little washer. Like I said, these look similar, just kind of keep them separated, like that. The oil spinner and everything's separated. So we know that this goes on to the clutch basket, this washer and the specialty nut. And these are supposed to be torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. I don't have the, I don't know if, I might be able to hold it, but if I can, I'm going to torque it down to 47 foot-pounds. If it's your own bike, just at your own discretion, you can kind of just use an impact gun on low speed, just real quick. Just be careful though, because you could break something. I advise you not to do that. Always try to do it by the torque spec. If it's your own bike, you can just do it at your own discretion. But if you're working on someone else's bike, make sure you always do it the proper torque. And like I said, that one is with that specialty nut, and it's 47 foot-pounds, which I already have it set to 47 foot-pounds on my torque wrench. I'm going to try to do it. If I can, I'm going to have to probably just use the impact and just do it real quick and lightly. But I advise you not to do that. But I might be able to use this tool here. Just like I said, just be careful. There we go, 47 foot-pounds. Like I said, if you type in Grom clutch holding tool, there is a better tool than this. That way it's not slipping off. That way you're not having problems like this. Just make it easier on yourself. Just get the proper tools. But it's all torqued down to spec, 47 foot-pounds. That's what the manual calls for. And then now we got to put the clutch springs in. We can get those in. And just make sure you line this up. Make sure you have to put a little pressure on this as you're kind of just hand tighten it. Always need to gotta find my what is it? It's a 10 millimeter I gotta find. Oh, it's right here on the gun. Always at least kind of tighten them down by hand. At least get the thread started by hand, so that way you're not cross threading. You definitely don't want to cross thread these things, and it just, at least then you can kind of feel it. You can go by feel, and just like I said, just you don't want to cross thread them, so put a little pressure on it, get them started. Probably easier if I didn't have oil all over my hands. And these are torqued down to 9 foot-pounds. So so we're gonna pause this so that way I can grab I have another torque wrench that's in inch-pounds, but we'll convert it to 9 foot-pounds. And same thing, you wanna torque these down to proper spec. And when you torque them down, so when you torque these down, do a crisscross pattern. That way it seats nice and even, nice and perfect. You won't have no problems. So yeah, we'll go ahead and pause this. Okay, so we already installed the lifter plate, so that way you didn't have to see all that, because it's just we're sitting there trying to, there's long screws just trying to put them in there. But it is 9 foot-pounds, which converts, if you have an this one's in inch pounds, which 9 foot-pounds converts to 108 inch pounds. So we crisscross, torque those down. We torqued this down already, and I didn't see it in the service manual, so I just tightened it because it's the same size bolts. So I just tightened it to 9 foot-pounds, which is 108 inch pounds. So now we're gonna put on oil spinner, and I did get a new gasket for this thing, and don't make sure you don't lose that washer. And then the nut, which is this this nut is 47 foot-pounds, same as the other. And I'm gonna scrape this gasket off real quick, and I have this gasket scraper I bought on Amazon also, which works really well. It's I'll link that in there too. So just be careful, don't gouge it. You have a filter screen in here, a little oil screen. Take that out while you're in here and make sure that is cleaned out too. I don't believe this is, if there's any, I don't think there's any arrows or anything on it that shows that there's a direction to it. Sometimes on certain bikes, there might be like a little arrow, or it might say up. I mean, it does have a little bit of writing on it. I can't tell if it says up or not, but I'm going to put the writing facing up. But just take some brake cleaner, clean that off. Just make sure it's dry before you put it back in there. You don't want to mix brake cleaner and be mixing in with your oil, because you'll break down the oil and it won't be good for your engine, that's for sure. Clean this screen off. Make sure it's nice and dry before you put it back in there. I mean, I probably made this video a little longer than it should be. I mean, but there's a lot of people that, you know, they do videos and miss a lot of things explaining stuff that you might just, you don't want to question anything. It's just better just to cover everything. That way you're not questioning anything. You don't have to go online and try to search for something that might seem simple, but you just, you know, you want it done right the first time. And I'm just gonna slide this back in there. It's nice and dry. And put this oil spinner back on there. They do have aftermarket kits, which I will be upgrading the case where it actually eliminates this. I would advise you, don't eliminate this like thinking it's going to take some weight out, because it helps circulate and filter your oil. If you're going to do it right and actually get the kit that comes with like an actual filter, and then you can safely, because I know they have like lightened ones of these, I think, and it's just better to get the whole kit where it replaces the cover and it puts a new filter in there. Don't just thinking you can just lighten this thing up, and you want the bike to be circulating and filtering the oil properly. Make sure when you do it, just be careful doing things and just double check, and especially when it comes to oil components. And it just seats in the splines. And don't forget the gasket. So we can tighten this down first. Just make sure it goes over the thread, so that way you're not tightening it down against the thread, stripping them. Make sure it seats on there nice and flat. Just hand tighten this real quick, and then the torque wrench is already set. So we might have to put that holder tool on here again. I'm sure we'll probably have to hold that, flip this around, and get this tightened down. It's tightened down. I'm sure it'll be okay, but like I said, get the proper tools when you do this on your own bike or customer's bike or whatever. Just make sure everything's nice and straight, sitting properly. And now I'm going to get the gasket and get that on there. So this has like this gasket here. It kind of concaves in, has like a little concaved little indentation. I don't see in the manual on how, which direction it goes, but I'm gonna lay where the outer edge is gonna be flat. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because when you tighten that up, I'm thinking since this outer edge, this will already be flat against this surface. So whenever you torque this down, it'll actually push this in to kind of seal everything up. That's just my thinking. That's how I'm gonna do it. And I mean, I don't know if it really makes a difference because either way, it's gonna smash. Once you torque it down, it's gonna kind of smash the gasket flat and probably seal it. But it makes sense to me to have the outer edge flat against the part. And then when this pushes against it, it's gonna push everything into place. So that's how I'm gonna do it. Like I said, always try to start these by hand when you're doing these bolts. That way you don't cross thread anything. And the manual says 9 foot-pounds for these as well, which is 108 inch-pounds. So that's what we're gonna do. And then I'm gonna put a picture of the service manual clutch diagram, so that way you can always double check it. Just pause the video and make sure it's all the clutch plates and everything's going in. Make sure you don't miss anything. Make sure you don't miss any washers or whatever. You can just have something to reference off of. So I'm gonna torque these down, and then I'm just gonna stop the video here in a minute because I mean, you don't really need to sit here and watch me put the clutch cover back on and fill it up with oil. I think you could look at a regular online and see how to fill it up and put the clutch cover on, but I'll just explain it to you. Don't forget these dowel pins. There's 2 dowel pins. It's recessed in here. So make sure when you put this cover back on, you push these dowel pins in, and then you can put it also helps align the gasket. So you can put the gasket on here, it kind of helps align it, and then push the clutch cover on and make sure, like I have all the bolts already on there, so I know, because some of them might have different length bolts because of the clutch cover. So I try to just keep them all on there for the most part. So that way I know where all the bolts go exactly back. And just make sure when you put that back on, torque it down to spec. I don't see a torque spec, so I'll probably look online for that. Make sure you double check the clutch cover torque spec, because that is one thing I don't see in there. And then just make sure you put the oil in it, double check it. Make sure you have the free play. A lot of people don't set the free play. Like they think that you tighten this up, the clutch, and whenever you tighten it, they think it needs to be super tight. Well, you want a half inch of free play. It almost makes it feel like it's abnormal. Makes it feel like the clutch is almost loose. That's where you want. You want a little bit of like before it grabs the cable, like when you feel like pressure, there should be like about a half inch of free play in that clutch. And then that way the clutch stays closed. When you let go of the clutch, it stays closed, because if you tighten that down too much, you leave the clutch is actually separating a little bit. So when you tighten that down, and you might get that clutch slippage when you take off and it's not grabbing, you're wondering why. Well, make sure you have free play in your clutch cable, about a 1/2 inch. And then you should be good to go. That's for a 2015 Honda Grom, and that's our clutch install video. Thanks for watching.